very important part of a rally car or any race car is a fire extinguisher. And for me that's particularly true because if you're a long time watcher and you watched my very first video, you'll know I've had my race car caught on fire before, and fortunately we managed to put it out. But burning a car to the ground is pretty much the worst thing that can happen to a car. There's usually nothing salvageable. So this car already had a fire extinguisher, and it was mounted here, which is a pretty bad place. It was sort of behind the driver's seat, so you had to reach through and kind of fish it out between the door pillar and the seat. So it was a pretty bad place, and it was pretty roughly mounted as well. Also means that the passenger has to then jump out of the car, come around to grab it if for whatever reason me or the driver couldn't reach it. So I've installed it in a new place, which I think is far better, right in the middle of the car, nice and easy to get to, and easy access to both the driver and the co-driver. So I've made up a wee aluminium bracket, so I put some weld nuts into the chassis here, so that's welded and then bolted, and there were some existing threads in the chassis which I used, and then just bent up a piece of 6mm aluminium and then bolted to that. So quite simple, and it actually works pretty well as an armrest as well. So that's all done. The next safety modification I need to do is install the Rally Safe. So if you don't know what a Rally Safe is, it's the GPS tracking system which is used pretty much in all of New Zealand's rallying events and many events all over the world, including the WRC. And so you hire the Rally Safe unit at each event, but there's an installer kit which has all the wiring and the antenna and the mounting brackets and stuff. We'll go through that now and show you. This is the kit as it comes from Status Awareness Systems. It's an Australian company. So that is the bolt-on antenna, so that sticks on the roof. And that is the power supply cable to the Rally Safe unit. So that plugs into the unit, and then that goes to your power source. And then that's the mounting unit. The internal Wi-Fi antenna thingy, and the base mount for the unit. So we've got a few options about where to install it. Pretty much anywhere on the dash in plain sight. So there's buttons that get pressed by us to keep track of distances, usually by the co-driver. So it needs to be easily accessed from the co-driver, and it's quite useful for the driver to be able to see it because it's got the your speed readouts and stuff, which is quite useful for not speeding during the touring sections. So somewhere in the middle here. I haven't quite decided yet, so I need to have a bit of a think about it, but I can probably delete the factory stereo and have it go right there, which is probably not a bad place, or mount it up over here somewhere. There is the completed Rally Safe mounting kit. It's just a piece of aluminium which fills in the hole of the factory stereo with the mount bolted to it, and the wires fed through the dash and then came out there. We can see that the light is on there for that power cable, meaning that it's now energized. So as we can see, it's nicely in the center. It can be seen by both driver and co-driver, so that should work pretty well. Another important part of a rally car is the intercom. So in the helmets they come with integrated microphones and earmuffs. So what we need to complete is an amplifier. So this is it. This is a Terra Trip intercom. So it does some pretty cool stuff. It's fairly old school, but it works really well. So we can see here it's got a bunch of inputs and outputs, which means that when we're cruising between stages we can plug in the phone to listen to music, and we can also put an output from this into the GoPro so that we can overlay what we're saying on the stage on the video, which can be quite interesting, quite entertaining when you hear all the swear words and whatever else goes on. So this is going to mount up here. I put a couple of rib nuts into the structure below the roof, This nicely holds the intercom in place. I then collect all the wires from both the intercom and the rally safe and cable tie them up tidily as best I can. I connect the power for the intercom to the existing 12 volt accessory port, which sat just behind the gear stick in the center console, so I chop this off and put a Deutsch plug on it. I now move on to the aesthetics of the car. The car was red and white before, and well, it may be to your taste, it certainly wasn't to mine, and I'm fixing this by wrapping it in gloss black to match all of my other cars. Not ideal for a rally car, as black tends to attract dust, but so be it. I think it's going to look pretty cool. Fortunately, I have my good friend Scott here who's going to give me a hand with it. Wrapping a car is definitely easy with two people, and it's not a technique that I've done much in the past, nor am an expert, but me and Scott figured it out. The way I found worked best for me is to heat it and pull it at the same time, often doing this again if required, in order to get a nice flat coverage without any wrinkles. The car looks a lot different now. We have black car. Cheers, Scott.
No worries, mate.
It's a very important part of making this look how it does. It's not perfect, but it's good from afar. Far from good, but no, I'm pretty stoked. The first panel we did, Scott Scott wasn't even involved, so that was just me, so that's pretty terrible. But we got better as we did more and more of it, and basically we're master wrappers now. So yeah, the car's got a whole new lease on life. It looks fucking cool now. What I'm going to do next is ruin my rear bumper. So this is basically a big sail under here. You can see this big cavity which is going to get caught by the wind and stones, and so I'm going to chop it off. I don't think it's going to look brilliant, but I think it kind of has to be done. An important part of a rally car to keep it running is a sump protection plate, or referred to as a bash plate. So this sits just underneath the engine sump, and that will basically stop rocks or whatever else might be on the road from hitting the sump and piercing it and ruining our day. So it's just a piece of 5mm aluminium which I plasmid, drew up on CAD and then plasma cut, and then countersunk with some M8 bolts. This is quite a simple bash plate compared to others that I've made. I would like to make another one later down the track with that sort of sits a bit wider, and then we'll sort of integrate into sort of all of this plastic air panel stuff, which is all a bit shit, and I don't foresee lasting, so I'll probably need to redo that at some point. But if we can integrate the dash plate into like the panels down there at the side, just to stop the exhaust getting whacked as well, which is also a good thing. One important consideration as well is we don't want a stone to get in between the bash plate and the sump, and then the bash plate gets hit and then punctures the stone through the sump. So we want to make sure that if a stone does end up there, that it can easily fall out. So a trick there for young players. What you can also do if you're especially worried about it is put some foam between the sump and the bash plate, just to make sure that nothing can get there. The problem with that is it's going to get quite hot. Anyway, I'm pretty happy with this for now, so we'll see how it goes. I've got it down on its wheels now, and it's definitely a monster truck. looks pretty cool. Wheels sit nice and flush. The back sits pretty good. MCA sort of set it at a good sort of reasonable height to start with, which I say is still pretty high, but I think that's probably pretty good. But then we come to the front and that's a bit ridiculous. So the front's sitting about 40mm higher than the back at the moment, so that's measured off the ground to the sills. So we'll quickly whip those wheels off, jack it up, and wind down the spring perch. So I've lowered the front 40mm. Now it looks a little more reasonable. The car sitting nice and level, which may or may not be a good thing, but I think it's a good place to start. Alright, I've got the car to a stage in which it's drivable. So I want to go out and take it for a drive around the street, make sure the brakes work. I've played around with a bit of electrical stuff, unplugging stuff, and modern cars with their CAN bus systems can be quite sensitive to removing things, so let's go make sure that it works. And then I've got to take it for an authority car test. Basically it's an inspection to say that I can drive this modified rally car on the road. It should be fairly straightforward, but I've got to get that done before our upcoming event. There's a few last minute things to do on this, such as mud flaps and some horizontal flaps under the back to look after the rear suspension. But for now, I think it's a good idea to take it for a drive, make sure all this brake system works. It's basically an entirely new brake system, so I want to give that a good test. Also see how the suspension feels, take it over some bumps, make sure it rides well, make sure the spring rate in the front isn't ridiculous. Just take it for a good wee shakedown really. Canterbury Rally for the 2023 edition. Got my trusty mate here, old Jason. He's going through some paperwork things, co-driver things. So yeah, here we are. First outing. I would have liked to have done a smaller event as the first one for this car, but instead I've thrown it into the deep end and put it into a full rally. There's good and bad things about that. One, if something goes wrong early on, then it's a lot of time and effort and money down the drain. The good thing is there's plenty of Ks on this event, so it'll give me a really good chance to get to grips with the car. And basically, I've never driven a rear-wheel drive car on gravel. I've never driven this car before on gravel, so it's going to be an excellent learning experience. Competition-wise, this car is underpowered, and I've never driven it before, so we don't expect to set the world alight. We just want to get through the event, learn as much as we can. first stage completed. We're now at service, giving it a check over. There's no real issues with the car. We had one slow puncture on the left rear, so we swapped that out. The car feels really good, really predictable, pretty easy to drive. I'm going to do a few more stages before I potentially play with anything. It's not like there were any handling issues. I might make some changes just to see what it will do rather than trying to fix any issues. So yeah, the first stage was really clean, no real issues. Obviously a little bit slow. Probably similar speed to my old front wheel drive 1600 Corolla. They sort of feel similar pace, so it'll be interesting to have a look at the times and see how it compares to that. So yeah, big thanks to Arthur helping us out. He's cruising here in the trusty Hiace van, so we're going to go off and do the second stage and yeah, hopefully have some more fun. 'Comfortable with the car, but it mostly does what you say, but then occasionally it'll throw the arse out and make your butt pucker up. That's mostly good though. I think maybe I'm still driving it like I would a front wheel drive, so I think I've got to maybe try and just send the back end around and be more aggressive with it. Anyway, it's all going good, it's good fun. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. I'm starting to struggle with this car the more I drive it, which seems a bit funny. It's sort of the backwards of how it should be. So there's definitely some development work that needs to be done. It just seems a bit inconsistent, and the car doesn't really want to go where I want it to go. I think probably one of the big problems would be the oversprung front spring rate. Anyway, not a problem for now. We're just going to keep on driving to the car. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. well, that concludes the Canterbury Rally for this year. We finished, not a scratch on the car, not a single issue, so that's a positive. I didn't set the world on fire. I think I came 8th out of 12 in our class, so the pace is yet to come. I think maybe 31st overall out of 52 starters or something like that. But anyway, I achieved my goal of the day, which was just to learn the car and to get through it and have some fun, which we did. So this is obviously the start of this journey, and part of the fun for me is learning and developing both myself as a driver and developing the car going forward. So we'll make some tweaks. We'll do a video on that coming up. But for now, that's all. Thanks very much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.